self-learning, self-healing journey. I didn't know that I was on a freaking journey. I just knew that I felt hope and light, saw light for the first time in a long time. So one step after another. Last week we talked about trusting the voice within, and this week it's about, okay, we're going to trust that voice within. And when we take responsibility for our triggers, we can trust what we hear as our answers, because there are questions we need to ask. But, you know, when I had to stop pointing fingers at others and look into myself for my triggers, I was like, this is some freaking bullshit. So,
Yep.
if you too are in that place where you're finding yourself triggered an awful lot these days, because there's an awful lot going on, stick around. We're going to help give you some pointers that we've used to help take responsibility and ownership of our triggers, which has been healing and empowering. Janice got a new toy, friends. We are coming to you live on the newstreamingnetwork.com, WGSN-DB Going Solo Network Radio, TV, and podcast. I am your co-host, Judy Forder, and I am here with my co-host in peace, Miss
Janice Leonard.
I love it.
I got to use that. Oh, hi, everybody. It's Janice and Judy. We are here every week. We were here to share stories, share tools, bring in guests who have different tools and ways to help us be more at peace, feel more love towards ourselves and others, and to be here now. Thanks to you. We appreciate you being here. And we are a 501c3, so your donations are tax deductible. If you go to our website, peacefulempowermentworks.org, there's a donate button on the top and one on the bottom. And anything you can give us is appreciated, even if it's just listening and joining us and sharing this experience with us. Thank you so much.
Yes, and the best free way you can support us is by you like, comment, share, and subscribe. Please.
That's right.
Yes, we come to you on Facebook. Occasionally, we've had trouble with Facebook, YouTube, and all your major podcasting networks.
That's right.
So please like, share, comment, and subscribe. All right, Miss Janice, we've been having some exciting conversation leading up to the show today. Would you mind dinging us in?
Yes.
All right. Everybody take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth.
I've got to share this on my Facebook. I'm going to just jump right on. I'm terrible.
All right. Your trigger, your responsibility. It's funny, when I was sitting and contemplating about topics for the month of March, this one came through very quickly because this is something I've had to keep reminding myself over and over and over again with all the world events and everything that's unfolding. It can be very triggering. Especially the information that's coming out about the abuse and things like that. So, you know, if you're feeling the same way out there, because there are things that can happen and be, you know, talked about on social media, in the news, that trigger you. And it's important to know that you have the power to realign yourself and get back into that space of peace. Otherwise, we hand the power of our joy, our sadness, all of our emotions to external influences. So that's the big reason we wanted to do this show, is for you to take responsibility and ownership, because that's empowerment.
Yes, I try to explain this to my granddaughter so much. Do you know how much you're giving power to this person who's upsetting you? There's a person who's she's having conflict with, and she just lets it totally overtake her. And I'm like, she's got so much power over in your life. You're giving her so much power. I don't think she gets it quite yet, but I'll keep giving her that message, because it breaks your heart to watch her being so upset.
Mm-hmm.
And anyways.
Yes. And this is why I felt this meme was so important. I don't want to take credit for any of it. It's from J. Michael Fields. And he says, being emotionally regulated doesn't mean problems disappear, you aren't afraid, and things don't get tough. It means you can regulate whatever comes up without trying to escape your body. Compassion and responsibility are your friends. It means you've created a home of safety within yourself. That is what it means to love. We've talked a lot about, Janice has been very honest about how numbing out, checking out, and things like that. That's when triggered, we call it leaving our body. We disassociate, we disconnect so that we don't have to feel the pain, the grief, the sadness. But what happens is when you get back into your body, it's all still there.
Yeah.
It's all still there. So
it's almost like you can compact it. You can compact it. You feel it in, you push it down, you compact it. But even if you compact it, it's eventually going to all just spring open.
Which made me did you remember back in the day, especially around Easter, we would get these in our Easter basket, the toys on the spring with the suction cup that you would push down?
Oh, I loved those.
Yes, and then they would pop. That's exactly what your words made me think of.
Yeah, that's a great visual of what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. So, speaking about triggers at a time like this and starting to plant the seed that, your trigger is your responsibility. It is. And once I stopped fighting that, because, it was everybody else's fault that I was feeling some way. I was feeling sad. I wasn't feeling enough. Because she did this or he did that. Every time I would point and give them the power to make me feel, I was giving them more and more of me. And I was sitting with less and less. And I didn't even know, we don't know it. We're not taught these things.
Yeah. It's interesting. And for me, I was the opposite way. It was never anybody else's fault. It was always all my fault. And if something would happen, I would say, oh, see, you're not worthy, you're no good, so it wasn't any better way to cope. That's for sure. But so everyone's got their own ways of doing that. That's for sure. Yeah.
Exactly. So I thought before we dove into, some of the tools that we've used to help us move through triggers, I thought we would talk about one of those, you might be triggered by this and it means that. So we have another nice slide for you.
Yeah, this one got to me.
Yeah.
I really could relate to way too many of these.
You want to take it on, or you want me to read it?
Well, you can read it, but the problem is I can't read the words.
Okay, I got you. Okay, so for those of you that are just listening, it's Our Triggers Reflect Our Pain by Dr. Elizabeth Frederick. If you often get triggered by the fear of someone leaving, you might still need to heal from abandonment and rejection.
This is there's all kinds of triggers, but this one I think is a really deep down one that I can't overcome yet. And even though I've tried to, because my mother died when I was 4, and what I remember about that whole period of my life, I don't remember that, things, but I do remember the dream I had then, a nightmare of her getting in a car and driving away. And that's the nightmare I had, that I was crying and felt all the feels. I didn't feel it, and that symbolized it, because how do you process that when you're 4?
Right.
And so I have such a problem with people leaving jobs. I have one of my step granddaughters, they moved to Maine, and I had to consciously be aware that I was like, you moved away. I can't do anything anymore. You chose to leave me. Oh, I mean, you chose to move away.
Right.
So that I still struggle with anything like that. And when you leave a job, that's why it was so hard. I want to leave before they leave. Then you get the things you set up. Yes,
Yeah.
your response to the triggers is, okay, so I'm going to leave this job or I'm going to leave this friendship or whatever before they leave me. So,
Yep.
that's that trigger. It's just that's a really deep one for me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Most feedback feels like criticism. Okay. You might still need to heal from critical, disapproving caregiver. If you had a caregiver that was not supportive and very judgmental, then when you're feeling criticized, judged, that trigger will hit. Yeah.
So there's millions of these, but I remember my first real job after college. Well, I won't count the Toys R Us experience. I had a boss who didn't think anything of being really personal with me, critiquing me. And I remember, he'd give feedback, whatever. And then one time he says to me, Janice, you don't have to respond like I don't, defensive. I don't know what it is. Every time someone says something to you. And I was like, what? She's like, if someone says, you should do that differently, I said, well, of course I have to explain what my thinking is, why I do it that way. And he's like, well, you don't have to. Oh, so it's interesting because I had no idea. I just was like, well, I'm just explaining myself. It's okay. But yeah, so I've been more aware of that, but it's definitely I have I think so badly about myself anyway that someone else is judgment coming on would be hard. I could deal with it if you let me tell you. Like, okay, like if I really didn't do that right. I should have done this first and done it a different way. Then great. Okay, I can learn, but heaven forbid someone tell me.
So can you look back into your childhood and see where that started?
Oh yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Two places. My stepmother. Example. I was having a hard time seeing in school, and I said to her, I said, I think I need glasses. And she's like, oh, you just want attention. Okay, so all right. My father, my example, I think I just told Judy this offline last week, but I played clarinet all the way through, starting 4th grade on up through high school. Very shy, very insecure person. And but I challenged myself when I was a senior. We had a senior pops concert. I wanted to play a solo. And I was like, I'm going to play a solo. And so I got up and I played a solo, Photographs and Memories. I was thinking about my mother, my birth mother, and scared to death. I don't know if I squeaked maybe once. I don't know. But I didn't squeak through the whole thing. I did it. I get in the car with my father after, and he says, well, there wasn't much intonation, was there? So, you can't win. My father's a perfectionist, and that's just, it was never about what you did well. It was always about how you weren't enough. Your feelings weren't okay. You're never enough. And, it's hard.
Yeah. It's funny because when we take the time to pause and ask where those things were originally imprinted, the examples come.
Yeah.
The memories come. Yeah.
How about you, Judy? Is that a big one for you, or wait for a big one for you?
My parents were not very critical as far as like your examples. More of, I think what I picked up was what I watched in their behaviors and their relationships with themselves. Mostly my mom. She was very critical of herself. So it made me very critical of me, because once the whole diet thing happened, then I was just like mom. And if mom had to hate her body, I had to hate my body too, because I was fat like mom. And if I had to be judgmental and critical, she was judgmental and critical of herself, I had to be that way of me too.
Yeah. Hear you. Yeah, just like for me is I tried not to focus on my physical self, but like my I don't know if I ever heard my father talk like this, so I'll just say my stepmother, anytime there'd be like someone fat around, she'd make a little comment with that fatty over there. So it was like, to always, you look at somebody and you criticize them. I never did. I don't think
Right.
I ever did. Not physically anyways,
No.
because how that always made me feel. But, I grew up with that was around me all the time.
Hmm. Yeah, I learned at a very young age. When I walked in a room, I was scanned to see if I was the biggest one in the room. It was like a safety thing.
Yeah,
If
me
there was
too.
someone bigger than me, then okay, I wouldn't be the main focus.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was very interesting. Yeah. I learned an awful lot from watching and being like, okay, that's the way I'm supposed to behave because I look like that. I have the same issues.
Yeah.
So
I
yeah.
guess you take it on. It's interesting because, as you're growing up, you get a voice in your head, and the
Hmm.
voice can be your parents, or siblings, or a teacher, or it could be later in life, it could be a spouse, who knows, partner.
Hmm.
But it's a voice that you take on until you realize it and you try to let go of it. But, it's that those voices are, especially if they click with you and they trigger you, or there's that, it's,
Yeah. And when you're
that's the
so
trigger.
young, it's like you build your whole identity around those voices.
Yeah.
So yeah, excellent. Okay. So if you often get triggered by feeling unimportant to loved ones, then you might still need to heal from unavailable, self-focused caregiver. So if you had a caregiver that was emotionally unavailable and wasn't able to love you as openly and freely or speak to you in kind, respectful, encouraging ways, because they were too focused on themselves, and which we're finding more and more, and honoring the fact that our parents did the best they could with what they had. They were dealing with traumas. They were dealing with emotions that they weren't encouraged to heal and process and talk about and things like that. Talk about stuffing down that springy toy. That's been a generational thing. And the pressure just kept building and building and building. And it got to Jen and I, and we're like, we can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
Pop.
Yeah. It's true.
So if that toy has popped in your life, welcome. Join the club.
Yes.
In my eyes, that's what this great awakening is all about.
Mm.
It's not about pointing fingers and blaming parents, grandparents, and all that came before us. It's about seeing
Do,
the truth of it.
do you think a lot of our triggers are based on those voices or messages that hurt us when we were young? A lot of them. Probably not all of them, because I know some
What
are
I have
adult
found,
ones.
yeah, I think getting to the root of it happened for me in childhood somewhere.
Mm.
And then I built walls of protection around it, which then created more triggers that had to be avoided.
Yeah. It takes a lot of energy to dance around those triggers, doesn't it?
Amen. Amen. If you often get triggered by raised voices, tones, or looks on the face, then you might need to heal from unpredictable and scary caregiver.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't bear to be yelled at to this day.
Yeah.
Nope.
My mother, we've talked about this on the show before. My mother was a bit unpredictable, where things would be fine and she would explode, and then the phone would ring and she'd be like, "Oh, hi, how you doing?" And it was that she'd put on the face. So I could, if she had a look on her face, I knew shit was going to hit the fan.
Yeah.
So it was, I wouldn't describe it as a youngster about walking on eggshells, but you really never really knew what you were walking into. And again, I didn't know what she was going through in her life.
Yeah.
Nope. Again, we're not pointing fingers. We're not blaming. This is just facts.
Yeah.
Potential facts.
And I think too, when I was younger, I made excuses, or oh, you know what, they just don't know about it. I mean, she was the youngest in her family. Can you imagine what her childhood must have been like? Oh, can you imagine, growing up in the Great Depression, and I was great at making excuses for everyone. So
Yes.
then you go through the stage of blaming them.
Exactly.
And then you got to go back to the middle, which is accepting them for who they were, but seeing how maybe that you do have some scars or triggers because of them. and trying to accept it and deal with it and get over it. And I don't mean get over it because that's so like
Forgive.
minimizing of it.
It's
But
about
yeah, come to
forgiveness.
peace with it, Yeah. Forgive. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Forgiveness leads you to the peace.
Yeah.
Yes. And the biggest thing I had to understand was, yes, everything you just said, very true. I can understand why this happened and why she felt this way and what she was doing and blah, 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 blah. We can see all of the reasons, and we can also admit that it created some traumatic experiences in our lives.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was doing the and part. It's like, well, how can I have all that understanding and then be upset because it affected me in this way? Well, we can carry both. And that's how we get to forgiveness eventually.
And two, then you go, I went to see, you're so selfish. You're just thinking about yourself and look at poor me, it,
Mm-hmm.
it's the whole collective thing. One begets another. And
Yes.
yeah, it's so great when you can put that to bed.
Okay. Loud voices or loud noises, sensory overwhelm means, it might need to heal from chaotic environments. Authority, being told what to do. You were controlled and couldn't have a voice. And instead of rushing through the rest of these, Janice, I think we'll break for a commercial now, and then we'll finish up the rest of them when we return. Yeah.
Okay, great. And I'll blow up the screen so I can read it and do some.
All right. We'll be right back.
Okay.
Hello and welcome back to Be Here Now, where presence invites perspective and allows peace. Today, Janice and I are talking about your triggers, your responsibilities. And before we broke for commercial, we were going through, if you often find yourself triggered by X, you might need to still heal from Y. We stopped at authority.
Yes.
Authority, being told what to do. If you get triggered by that, then there may be some healing work that needs to be done with controlled. And when you were growing up, maybe you couldn't have a voice.
Mm-hmm. I tell you, I'll take the next one.
Okay.
Not feeling worthy or good enough.
There you go.
Maybe you had, or what your experience may be, is had to perform, you had to earn love. And that's totally. I've always felt like the only way I would be liked or loved was if I did something to make people love me. That's why I was the caretaker, or I gave a lot, or for work. That's when the first time I felt like I had a value was, I remember I got my first, career-based job when I was in college, and it was a job board. I was trying to get jobs for people, but I did it, and we're making a difference, and I did it well. And I remember clearly, wow, I have some value. I'm worth something.
Mm.
So, which is great, because I think I had a pretty okay career based on feeling that way. But, especially when you, like, the job isn't the primary thing, or then it's the kids, let's say, but then all of a sudden, let's say you're retired. Let's just say someone retires. And it's like, okay, you don't do anything anymore to earn. Yeah. It's amazing how you have to do something in order to be loved. It's whole concept. I remember Judy saying to me when I first started working in a group with her, one thing she said isn't like, you're lovable, just you. Mm-hmm. And I was like, no. It was such a foreign concept. So it's, you can be, you don't have to do something. You can actually just be, and just be a lovable, valuable person.
Mm-hmm. Amen.
Yeah.
We live in a world that bases your worth on what you earn.
Yeah.
And what you can do. Yeah. And what you can do for others. So it makes sense that we grew up feeling that way. I too was a people pleaser. And I too was one that would overgive and overshare in hopes that I would be loved and accepted, let alone the body image issues, and then realizing that I was gay, and I had all these wonderful reasons why everybody should not love me.
Oh boy, that's hard. Ugh.
Yeah.
I know, like the next one, I think it kind of is very close for me, which is worrying about someone is upset at you, and
Mhm.
you had harsh punitive caregiver. Well, so it all the time. It's like as soon as someone looks at me funny or doesn't respond or whatever, oh my gosh, they're
Mhm.
upset at me. I'm no good. Look at what's happened. And I just joined another group with a second chapter. And we do a group, and there's not many people, maybe 6, 7 people in the group.
Mhm.
And I talked in the group the week before last, session before last. And I'm telling you, forget it. All those triggers came up. It was, look at, see, they don't understand what you're saying. They think you're crazy. They think you're no good. And, you talk too much. And I cannot believe how that session I left. And I was just, oh my gosh, you know, everyone's going to quit because I'm in the group. And it just okay, so, and it was similar when I started the group with Judy, and, it takes a while to feel safe and start getting that it's okay. And not everybody's at the same place you are, okay, so then you look at what's real? What's real is I talked
Mhm.
in the group.
Mhm.
Okay, what's the story? The story is I just told you all my stories. Oh my gosh, I talk too much. They don't like me now. They didn't understand what I said. They think I'm lazy. They think, whatever.
Yeah.
And then I had to say, okay, but what's real? What's real? What's real? Well, in the feedback, we'd have like a little place we can write comments and stuff. There wasn't any. So the real is, I think I only got one little comment back. So, but then it brings me to the story. See, see, no, not you. But then I was like, okay, but maybe, okay, I had to let go. I finally had to say, you either go in and you try or you don't, and you paying the money and you're not getting anything out of it. So it
Right.
was so hard, but that was crazy.
So what did we learn from last week's show? What was the voice you were hearing? Was that ego or soul?
That was eagle, eagle,
Ego.
eagle.
It was ego. Uh-huh.
Absolutely. And it was, well, I mean, I probably stopped obsessing about it shortly into the next day, which is
Okay.
really progress for me.
I was going to say that's really good. And
Yes.
the fact that you kept asking yourself, what is real? What is
Yeah.
real? Beautiful.
Yeah.
And
So,
that's one of the things that when I was able to embrace the fact that that voice that beats me up is just trying to keep me in a box, it made it easier for me to not pay attention to that voice and focus more on the kind, respectful, supportive, encouraging truth that I always, was not always happy to hear, but at least it was truth.
yeah.
So good job, Janice. Really well done.
Yeah. It's funny because, when you retire, let's say you retire and you don't have to deal with people,
Mm-hmm.
do you know, if you kinda don't have to deal with triggers so much, and the
Exactly.
whole isolation and the things that I do makes life easier in terms of ever having to face these things. So
Mm-hmm.
it's funny, it just brings that so strongly aware to me, whatever you should say that,
Uh-huh.
because of this, as I've just stepped my toe out a little. And then there's the triggers, and it's like it's funny. So what do I want? Do I wanna just sit here and not have to deal with people or fears of being rejected, abandoned, not feeling worthy? You
Mm-hmm.
can. I could sit here and have no, well, except my husband, but he's a pretty good guy, so, I pretty much trust him. But, it's just interesting. And if you do put your foot out, you do try, you're risking it. Anytime you try, you risk.
Mm-hmm.
So but you want to risk.
Mm-hmm.
You want to try. So it's just you do the work. You got to do the healing. Do the healing.
Yep. Absolutely. Um, yeah, I feel like we've hit all of these pretty much. Feeling like you're a burden, your needs were ignored or shamed, spending money on yourself, and then you feel um, like you shouldn't. You need to heal from poverty, raised with the scarcity mindset.
And
Totally get
you don't have to offset that with the compulsive spending.
exactly. Balance, my friends. Feeling dismissed or invalidated. You may need to heal from not being allowed to have or show emotion.
I remember my sister telling me, I remember one time I finally dared to say, Dad doesn't stick up for me. He doesn't say anything. I don't know what I said. I said something about my father that I
Mhm.
didn't feel supported or loved. I don't know. And my sister said, Janice, you need to just appreciate the fact that he stayed with us kids. When mom died, a lot of men, they would just leave their kids to somebody else. They would leave. And so,
Ooh,
like, that's pretty heavy burden to put on me to not ever look at my father in any kind of a, that's, yeah.
wow.
So that was
Huh.
pretty intense. And I know I'm not the only one. So
Mm-mm.
hopefully, as when I like to say when I do share stories, is I just hope there's other people who can feel it and understand it and not feel alone and understand that these are triggers and it's a life. Sometimes it feels like a lifelong journey or all the layers of the onion of dealing with these triggers and getting to a place where I can be in a group and maybe get something out of it instead of spending the whole time feeling,
Right.
burdened.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like I've been reading this book called The Untethered Soul. I think it's by Michael Singer. I don't have it near me. I'm surprised. But he gave the perfect example and visual for me to harbor when we talk about triggers. It's like it's implanted. It's like getting a thorn stuck in your hand. And instead of going through the 30 seconds of pain it takes to remove the thorn, we decide we're going to wrap it and we're going to make sure nothing touches the thorn. So we build all these processes and defenses around it. And as we continue to grow and we're exposed and our world gets bigger, we have to build more and more protections.
Mm.
So everything we do is built on protecting that thorn.
That's a perfect visualization of that. Yeah.
Is I thought that was great. And it makes the point that when we can get back to the root, that original thorn, and work with that, the root of the trigger, once we remove that and allow ourselves to feel and heal from it, all the protections fade away.
It's like so then you work on taking the thorn out and then you get the infection. So you worry about, nurturing and taking care and giving medicine to the infection and then it slowly gets less and less. Yeah.
Exactly.
I like
Wonderful.
that.
Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, the first the first step about the emotional triggers is recognizing when you are triggered. And for me, I spent so much time in that hypervigilant, on the verge of rage place that I came to discover that triggered was pretty much my standard energy. I was freaking triggered by everything and everyone. And at any moment, I could flip off. Oh, who does that sound like? Sounds like my mom. So it took me years to get to that layer of, okay, this is a result of my mother's relationship with herself. And like I said, I was, we were supported, we were loved, we were cared for. Um, I can remember being young, my father saying, if you don't stop crying, I'll give you something to cry about, which I then turned around and used on my daughter and regret. But we
Been
do what
there.
we yeah, we use what we know. Um, so when I could get back and allow myself to admit that my mother had a negative impact on me because, she was wonderful. Everybody loved her. She was wonderful. She was the best person in the world. And she was all those things. But behind closed doors, people didn't realize the hatred, disdain that she had for herself.
Mm.
And that was something that we saw being in the house with her. So when I was able to get to the root of that, then all those protections that I built about not feeling safe in public started to unravel. And so that's why being able to identify, in order for me to be able to identify I was emotionally triggered, I had to know what it felt like not to be triggered. And that's where the Reiki sessions came in and the energy sessions and all that kind of stuff. That's why when I could feel that piece on that table during that first Reiki session, I didn't know what happened. I just knew I needed more of it because I finally felt what was different. I wasn't triggered. I didn't know that at the time, but that's what it was.
That's so true.
Yeah. And I wanted more of that.
Yeah. That's probably why that was your turning point, I bet. Because how can you can know that you feel uncomfortable and miserable or angry, but until you know that there's an option and what that option feels like, that's a good option.
Yes.
How can you make it?
Better.
Yeah. How can you make a change or understand about healing or anything if you really don't know? I never thought of that.
Yeah. Yeah. I had to know there was something different. So, being able to recognize that I'm triggered, it's because I know now that when I'm not in that space of peace doesn't mean there isn't chaos. Peace doesn't mean, but I'm aligned and at peace with me. And when something pulls me out and I feel like I click into the old Judy. That's what it feels like to me. Like, oh, here comes ragey Judy. What's going on? Or here comes the Judy that doesn't feel like she's lovable or she's enough. What's happening? And it's not to say that there aren't things going on that can trigger us emotionally in the moment. Like if I'm being chased by a saber-toothed tiger, I need to run. I need to do something in order to survive. But if Janice looks at me and says, I hate the color purple on you, I don't have to be like, oh my God, I should never wear purple. Why did I wear purple? I'm so stupid. How did I think I could pull off purple?
Yeah.
I don't need to go down into that. But if I am triggered by it, it's like, okay, well, where have I felt that way before? And it's not Janice is terrible and she hates me. It's, oh, okay. I would always say purple brings out the purple under my eyes, which isn't good. So I honestly would resist wearing purple for a long time, but I wear it now. Whatever.
Oh. It's so complex, and then like the for trigger, I was thinking about what does it look like in me? I think, well, there's a few things, but I think one of them is that I just get this feeling like, oh my God, the world's caving in on me. Like it's like maybe an anxiety attack. I mean, I don't have a hard time. Well, a little hard time breathing. It's a little hardish, but it's just this numbing. It's like all around me, and you just like and you have the racing thoughts. Oh my God, I'm no good. Oh my God, I'm no good. Look what I did. Look what I did. Look at it. So it's harder. It was hard for me to recognize that for years. And I would say, again, it was only recently that I understand, like when this happened this time, I was like, oh, look at that racing thought you're having. Well, that, you're saying all those things again. Oh, okay. So this is a you thing. Maybe. So, then I get to look at it and not that it's easy. I mean, jeepers, but this is, it's a journey and one step at a time. And so I'm like, okay, so this might be a you thing, Janice. So I try to stop it, but the racing thoughts about me being terrible and everyone's going to quit this program because of me.
I mean, you speak it out loud. You can tell how ridiculous it sounds.
I
know?
Yeah, that's when you go back to, okay, is this a real statement or is this a story you have? Okay.
Exactly. Yes. So that's a great thing. Is this real? And is the emotional response I'm having, does it align with the experience that I'm having? Like if I'm having a much bigger emotional response to what actually just happened, then I know it's something triggered in the past. If it's questionable, like, then that's when I start asking, okay, show me the truth of this experience. What's really going on here? And if ego starts to kick up, I'm like, hey, chill. Let's chill. And let's ask some questions. Get curious. Curious is the most powerful position we can have dealing with ourselves and other people.
Yeah.
Allow yourself to be curious because emotional triggers can come from situations, people, places, things, movies, music. It can come from anywhere. Janice and I could be having a very delightful conversation, and then she says something that triggers something in me that, it was completely unexpected. Hit me, it blindsided me. Like, why is that? Why did that affect me like that? So they can come from anywhere. When you know that you're triggered, the first thing you do is pause, breathe, pause, and get yourself present again. And you can start asking yourself the question, like, am I triggered with what's going on right now, or is this triggered something from the past? We have a nice little from the Gottman Institute, what triggered me. And the thing I love about this so much, Janice, is it's personal accountability. It says, I felt excluded. Not that group of mean girls made me feel excluded. I felt excluded.
Or I let them make me feel.
Yes, exactly. I felt powerless. I felt unheard. I felt scolded. I felt judged. I felt blamed. I felt disrespected. That was a big one for me. I hated feeling disrespected. And I was a teacher, middle school, high school. Nobody disrespects you more than them young kids.
Yeah.
I felt a lack of affection. I felt I couldn't speak up. I felt lonely. I felt ignored. I felt I couldn't be honest. That's a big thing. I can't be honest because I'll get in trouble.
Yeah.
I felt that way as a kid. I felt like the bad guy. I felt forgotten, unsafe. Something was unfair, uninvolved, disconnected, frustrated, trapped, a lack of passion, uncared for, manipulated is a big one. And I felt controlled. And I feel like a lot of the news that's coming out, which surprises me that I'm talking about this, but a lot of the news coming out about our food and about everything else, people are feeling like they've been manipulated and they've been controlled because we haven't had all the facts in order for us to make our decisions. And I know as a mom, that triggered in me because I was always aspiring to make the best decisions for my kid as far as eating and everything like that. And then come to find out that there were intentional chemicals put in foods that caused addiction to the food. So, all those facts coming out on top of the fact that I was a phys ed teacher. So I taught the food pyramid for years and years and years and years and years.
That's
and
right.
now they've flipped that food pyramid upside down.
They have?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a new food pyramid out now. Check it out.
Oh, okay.
So personal accountability is not Janice made me feel, it's I felt this way when this was said. Let's look into that.
Yeah, it's interesting because I always say let them make me feel that way. I tried trying to turn it around. But then again, I tend to want to blame myself anyway. So I guess that could be a sword that I need to be careful of. That I don't just say, see what I did? I let people bother me, not to go to that level. Okay.
And the funny thing is when you say I felt, it's not I am. I felt unloved, not I am unlovable.
Yeah.
And I think that is the huge shift. One of the biggest shifts I've seen in Janice since I've known you is you don't declare you're unlovable anymore. You say, I felt.
Interesting.
Yeah. That's one of the biggest things I've noticed in your wording. Yeah. Because you are lovable and worthy of love, as we all are. So, yes, Silveria, thank you for pushing us along. Conscious response. So we have the emotional trigger, personal accountability, and then the conscious response comes when you can identify the fact that you're triggered, you're feeling the emotion, you pause, you breathe. What feeling am I experiencing? And then you make the conscious choice. Am I going to act from this trigger? Or am I going to give myself time to process, breathe, and get realigned and grounded and make a better choice? Because we should never engage when we're triggered. That's when we end up saying and doing things that we don't mean.
Oh, yeah.
We're acting out of reacting out of emotion, not out of our heart space.
Yep.
So when we take the time to pause, breathe, and simply say, what do I need in this moment? Because if I'm upset with Janice and I don't want to engage with Janice right now, I can simply say, hey, I'm triggered and I'm going to need some time to process through this trigger. Can we revisit this? And it's funny because when I launched into this owning your trigger thing, my daughter and I had a conversation with her and we were batting heads and going at it. And so we came up with the agreement that when we are triggered, we will say we're triggered and walk away. So she'd walk around the house yelling, "I'm triggered."
I like that.
Uh-huh.
Oh my
But
gosh,
but
I can't
you know,
believe how time flies when we do this show.
I know, I know. But she was
Wow.
able to verbalize it. I was able to know it. So it was like, take that break, get yourselves together. We can come back and talk about it.
It works.
It does work. It works really well, actually. So, yes, as Janice said, we have come to the conclusion of yet another lovely episode of Be Here Now. Janice, we didn't get to your necklace.
Oh, well, I'll wear it next week.
Okay. All right. So, yes, your trigger, your responsibility. Identify it. Take responsibility for the feeling that you're experiencing. Give yourself the grace and compassion. Pause, breathe, and make a conscious response.
And this doesn't happen overnight. Give yourself the grace to learn to do it one step at a time and do it the best you can. Well, I don't know if best. Yeah, whatever.
The best. Beautiful. Yep.
Okay.
Practice,
Okay.
practice, practice.
Yes.
All right. We want to thank you all for choosing to be here now with us. Please always remember.
You are not alone.
And don't ever forget, you are awesome. We will see you next time.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks for being here. We appreciate you. Bye.